Returning now to our top story, the EU's foreign affairs chief is leading calls for calm today over the Ukraine crisis, but he says the bloc is prepared should diplomacy fail. Josep Borrell joins me now live from Brussels. He is also the Vice President of the European Commission. Thanks for joining us, sir. First of all, let me ask you about why EU diplomats are not being called back from Ukraine. The Americans have called back non-essential staff, so have the Brits. Is that because your assessment is that war is less of a possibility?
We don't see a reason for bringing back our diplomats home.
You don't see a reason?
Not by the moment.
Mm-hmm. So you spoke with Tony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State. Did he give you a reason?
Well, the U.S. has not evacuating people, has just said that the non-critical staff that want to leave, they can leave. And it's up to them to decide that.
Yeah.
But we don't see the need to tell our non-critical staff, if you want to leave, you can leave. No?
What do you think the risk of war is at this stage?
Now, look, we are engaged in diplomacy. We are engaged on trying to de-escalate. I'm not going to make some guesses about the risk of war. Certainly, there is a threat. We have to face this threat, but now our job is to avoid that, to work hard, to put pressure on Russia, to continue engaging constructively in establishing mechanisms in the framework of OSCE, to talk with NATO. This is our job. Our job is not to speculate about the war, but to build it.
I understand that, but you're seeing the troop movements. You're seeing how Russia is massing troops and military equipment on more than one Ukrainian border. That has to be a huge cause for concern. Today versus even just a few weeks ago, the picture is quite different.
Yes, certainly. There is a threat when someone masses more than 100,000 troops with heavy arms along the border of a country. I suppose that you don't go there to take tea. To have coffee. They're there for some reason. And this reason can be considered a threat. The Ukrainians consider a threat. We consider a threat to use force. And in these occasions, that's where diplomacy intervenes.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing.
Right. So what are you doing?
Talking.
Yeah, talking about what? What do you think will get to Putin? He's the one ultimately who pulls the trigger or not.
Well, talking about the request that Russia has presented to the US and to NATO. Russia wants to ensure, they say, their security. Well, if they want to talk about their security, they can talk with whoever they want. But in fact, what they are talking is about the structure of security in Europe. That's what we are talking with the US and with NATO, who are the interlocutors of Russia, presenting European view. And I think that we have to continue talking. Now we are writing more than talking because the Russians requested a written answer to the US and NATO. And once they get the answer, let's see which is their reaction.
So what would the EU role be here? Do you think sanctions are enough to deter Vladimir Putin here? I know they want security assurances, but among those security assurances are a guarantee that NATO will not expand to include Ukraine. And the West has already said this is off of the table. So what else can you say to Russia that will convince them that NATO and the West will not continue to expand closer to their borders? Vladimir Putin sees this as a major security threat to himself and his country.
Look, if diplomacy failed, and we are working for this not happening, but if diplomacy fails, then we are very well advanced in the preparations of a response to any kind of potential Russian aggression through measures which certainly are sanctions, not us, only us, but in coordination with our like-minded partners, with the US, with the UK, and with Canada. And believe me, the sanctions will have a strong, we expect they will have a strong deterrent capacity. But now we are on the dissuasion mode. And that's why we're having bilateral talks with the US, trilateral talks with the US and NATO, and also with OCE in the framework of what is called Normandy, France and Germany. And I think that all these contacts, these diplomatic efforts should avoid a war.
You think that this diplomatic effort should avoid a war? These are critical days. You're saying you're writing more than you're talking because you are going to be submitting to Russia a written proposal that you hope will convince the leaders of that country that their security is not at risk from any kind of NATO action or the presence of Western troops. What is the timeline for that?
I don't know. It's, the answer will be sent by the US and by NATO after consultation with us. We are on the process of consultation. What kind of answer has to be addressed to the Russian request? And then the Russians have to decide what to do in front of this answer. But certainly, I am sure that it's not going to say, okay, I am very happy with the answer. The game is over. No. I suppose negotiation will continue because, you know, in these cases, nothing is black or white. There is a lot of things to discuss. But the required text, they will have a text.
Understood. When you go to sleep at night, are you more worried now than you were a few days ago, or are you in the same state? Do you have more concern?
You know, I am concerned. I am always concerned. I use the word concern a lot in my job. I'm saying I am
Diplomats
concerned.
do usually.
Yes, I'm saying that 3 or 4 times a day. But certainly, I have reasons to be concerned. But I don't want to go in a nervous attack.
You don't want a nervous attack. Josep Borrell, thank you very much, the EU Foreign Policy Representative, the Vice President of the European Commission. Thank you so much for joining us on CNN this evening. We're going to take a quick break.